Let's go right on to Scene Stealers.
Here at TTFT, what we do is each week we have an artist, someone that really takes us to that next level, makes us feel a certain way about their performance. David being a director and writer, me being an actor, writer, and director. We generally take this award severely seriously because, again, it takes a lot because as an actor and artist, you are subject to the time you have on screen, the script, which you have nothing to do with more than likely. Mm-hmm. And whenever you're able to take something that two people, you have the director, the writer, and you. And whenever you can take two people trying to control the narrative and you still shine, that's awesome to me. So David, tell us about Scene Stealers.
So we put one person on the board for every episode. We're coming up to the tail end of this competition. We have who will make it on the board today and who will make it on the board next week with Rain Man, and then the following week when we do our series or our season recap, we will pick one out of those 11 of who is the best of the season, or maybe we'll do a top 3 or something. But to give a quick recap, episode 1 was Black Panther. We got Okoye. Episode 2, we got Tenet, and that was Robert Pattinson.
I just saw him this last weekend.
And my brother.
Yes.
Episode 3 was The Living Wake, which was Mike O'Connell. The one exception to what you're saying about this is somebody that wrote and performed the lines that they wrote.
Yes.
So, I mean, but that makes it even more amazing because the words were his own and the words were what made the performance.
Yes.
Episode 4 was Rounders, and that was
Ed Norton.
Was it Edward Norton? I thought it was Matt Damon.
It's Matt Damon.
Okay, always good. All right, so
I just had to say his name again.
It should have been. So Matt Damon, episode 4. Episode 5, Paid in Full. That was Woods Harris.
Yes.
Episode 6 was the Halloween special episode Us, and that was, of course, Lapita.
Of course.
Episode 7 was V for Vendetta, which put Natalie Portman up on the board.
So good, Natalie.
Episode 8. Coffee Town, that was Glenn Howerton.
Yes.
And episode 9, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, that was
John Candy.
John Candy.
Yes.
All right, here we are with Jackie Brown, who will be our 10th Scene Stealer.
Would you like to go?
I got 2 honorable mentions.
I have a few honorable mentions as well.
And I couldn't choose my number 1
Who are your 2 honorable mentions?
My 2 honorable mentions are the Roberts of the Jackie Brown film.
I'm sorry, I don't know why I almost said Robert Pattinson. Robert Forster, and who else?
Robert De Niro.
Okay, go ahead. Can I take Max and you take Bobby?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
What I liked about Robert De Niro was it almost looked like he was phoning in his performance until the end when he went full Robert De Niro, but it paid off in that way where it's like he's like a beast in a cage. And then as soon as the cage gets left open, all hell breaks loose. And I think I actually read something that Robert De Niro and Quentin Tarantino didn't get along on set. And that may be attributed to the fact that there wasn't much asked of Robert De Niro, who I'm sure he considers himself, rightfully so, and a highly esteemed actor. And like, here I am with this guy that hasn't done he's done 2 movies. You know what I've done? He's got me sitting here just doing nothing, smoking bongs. I don't know. Didn't I do it,
baby? Shout out to the motherfucking Dale Phonics. We will not let this episode go by.
That was the only time Angela looked up from her phone when that song started playing. She was like, "New Kids on the Block?"
What? Oh my God. Martin Luther King will be so proud. I have a dream that one day white people and black people will listen to each other's music and they will love it from the mountaintops. Like, are you kidding me? Like, dude, like, Max Cherry, you have to understand, guys, listen. If I have to go look up your real name, that's how good of a job you did to me. And I didn't even know that it was him, which is crazy. And like, again, I'm being disrespectful and not paying homage to his lineage as an actor that he is, but again, all I needed to know is what I saw. Again, to me, like you said, I don't think Robert De Niro mailed it in. I don't think Quentin Tarantino wanted Robert De Niro to mail it in. I think what he wanted to portray is, listen, you've been that motherfucking dude for decades. We're talking about almost 4 or 5. Raging Bull, Taxi Driver. Like, you that motherfucker. So, guess what? What's better than being that motherfucker? Showing them you can be that motherfucker. Yeah. Not being that motherfucker, and then giving them 10 seconds of your entire 4 decades matching the 10 seconds would have been my pitch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was done perfectly.
So then Max Cherry. is if you've ever looked up any type of Max Cherry is that white guy that's not racist but that likes black girls but can't openly like black girls because he perceives that people are going to think he's just doing it just because. That is Max Cherry, but like, that's him on a subplot. Him on a more cerebral level is
he would have helped you to the Underground Railroad.
Oh,
but don't speak his name.
Here's the thing. He is a PG-13 version of John Voight in Rosewood. Boom.
Okay.
That's Max. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because he could have went and her. He could have went and Jackie Brown, but he didn't. Not only he not Jackie, actually he mentally masturbated. Which the second time we mentioned that this season, he shouldn't have listened. I would have been out there in a heartbeat. Fuck that. If a movie gets to say I want me a cool white surfer girl, then the white 50, 60-year-old Caucasian guy gets to leave with the 44 gainfully employed black woman.
Yeah.
Like that would have turned him out. But my whole point is just like seriously.
Oh yeah, like you see him like 2 years later, he's got the one pant leg up all of a sudden. He's got like a fade.
Kip.
Yeah.
Kip from Napoleon Dynamite. But seriously, listen. I mean, to be honest with you guys, if I had a top 4 performance, he's in my top 4. And when you talk about a cast full of the people that we've talked about, even to be mentioned in the top 5 is a shout out of shout outs. And again, to me, I this is why I told you I knew this film was special. It's not the only one, but Quentin Tarantino's best films he usually involves himself in. He was removed from this. He was not in Kill Bill either, but Jackie Brown was the first film I felt like he started removing himself, saying like, to me, this is what I hate about society because they're doing it with comedians now. I hate that what society is doing comedians now that everything's so PC you can't talk about it. I think like Tarantino was that first wave of it. They're just like, okay, people are being affected this way. Well, it's art. You're supposed to be. Art is only imitating life. So if you're upset about art, why aren't you a billion times more upset about life? And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Especially the heat he got for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I didn't know he got heat for that.
Oh yeah, like it was like glorifying masculinity and like the. And it was like insensitive. Like, of course.
Oh, you mean like insensitive? Like Cheers was the #1 show on NBC, but no black person ever walked into that bar. Oh, you mean that type of insensitive? Okay, gotcha, great.
But my scene stealer, I'm hoping you can tie break this for me because I can't choose between Sam Jackson and Pam Grier.
I can.
So is one of them your scene stealer?
Yes.
All right.
Go ahead and give me both though.
Well, Sam Jackson, this role was, I feel like if there was ever a role that was made for him to play, it is this role because I don't want to discredit his acting ability by saying like he's just himself in this, but he made it look like it was a version of himself. He embodied the character so well and had so much nuance to it. And they both contrast each other. So you have Samuel L. Jackson that's all like in your face, boisterous, arrogant, sleazy, and then you have Pam Grier that has this like air of confidence about her where she doesn't have to be all loud. She doesn't have to like. There's this, again, like we talked about it with Black Panther, T'Challa. There's this quiet power, and you could see her wheels are turning while his mouth is running. And that's the way, and she had this humble nature to her where, like,
it's almost a Killmonger T'Challa thing, but
she played it so well where you're wondering, all right, do I feel bad for her or do I root for her? Like, I'm rooting for her either way, but I don't know if she's a victim because sometimes she looks like she plays it so well, like, oh, I'm just this helpless girl, I don't really know what's going on, but she does know what's going on. She's like pulling all the strings from every angle.
It's Joker meets V for Vendetta.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Because again, she is that quiet presence that you mentioned. And if you want me to break the tie, before I can break the tie, let me say this: if you ever ask me what role was Samuel L. Jackson ever made for, there's only 2 that I think of, and it's Pulp Fiction, and it's also the role he did in A Long Kiss Goodnight. Like to me, I love to because here's the thing. If you were
Snakes on a Plane was pretty much him parodying himself.
Correct, I agree 100%. Which I'm fine with.
I'd also put Black Snake Moan up there as far as roles parodying that himself. I don't know if he was parodying himself in that. I think that was
parodying something on Pornhub, a category on Pornhub. I can tell you that right now. But for me, when I say Sam Jackson, like I say, I cannot again. to me, you have to understand this. He's in my top 3 artists of all time, and it's not because he's black, but what it is because is I resonate more than again I am a black man, but I resonate more with the fact that he didn't make it in his teens, he didn't make it as a kid, he didn't make it in his 20s, his 30s. He was 40 years old. His daughter and his mother. I don't know if you know this. The moment when they asked him what changed his career, he'd already done School Days and a couple other movies, and he was kind of out there. His daughter and his mother found him on the floor waiting for his crack to cook on the stove. And that's the moment that changed his life. Like, I can't imagine my daughter. First off, I've never done crack cocaine. I've never done cocaine. But I cannot imagine my daughter, who I love to death, and my wife walking in seeing me pass out on the floor. Rehab. I don't need rehab. I just woke up to see them looking at me in my rock bottom. And with that being said, you have to understand how such high regard I hold him, because again, he said something that I believe 100% is this type of person that I am. I'm not a person that can have one beer. I'm not a person that can just smoke one time. I'm either doing it or I'm not. And so for him to be so honest with it, the only thing
it was Jay Moore, the comedian. He said, I have an addictive personality. I don't know what one of anything is.
Jay Moore from the Jim Rome Show, and also from Jerry Maguire, if you guys are referencing that. But with that being said, to me, my scene stealer for this, first of all, I definitely had to, of course, pay homage. There's no words I can say for Samuel Jackson, who also filmed Basic in Jacksonville, Florida.
Before you say the name, but there's no competition this time, because
no competition.
If it's either Sam Jackson or Pam
it does
Grier,
not matter.
Whoever you say is.
How do you know it's either one of them?
Because you told me it was.
Oh, well, it is.
So whoever you say is going.
There's no loser.
Up on the board.
There's no loser here, because I'm pretty sure we're going to be doing movies in season 2 that has both of those characters, or at least one of them. So with that being said, to me, it's going to be Pam Grier. And I'm going to tell you why it's going to be Pam Grier. I'm not just saying it just to say it. I'm going to say it. Earlier in the episode, you guys heard my brother mention that it just doesn't start here. We're talking about Black Coffee and maybe 10 to 15 other movies that she's done. But forget all of that. We're talking about it. This isn't 2015 to 20 to where everybody's so PC and LGBTQ and women's movements and Black Lives Matter. No, this is before all that. Before people had a voice. It's funny they say freedom of speech is everything, but it took us to the 2020s and 15s to get our voices out there. And when we do, we still get reprimanded. But that's another story for another day. For me, the reason why it's Pam Grier is because this. I told you. It's easy to make a male chauvinistic pig. It's easy to make us a sympathetic black slave. But what is the hardest thing to do is tell somebody during the 90s when you got Stallone, Schwarzenegger, everybody coming out being macho, macho, macho. I'm going to make the black woman the lead, the smartest person in the room, humble, sexy, conniving, and still gets away and does not die. 90% of films with black people die in the 90s. The black people died, kids. I know you don't believe that now because of Twilight and all that other bullshit that's out there. Black people died in like 97% of the first movie. So, you guys want to be a movie? We got this great program up for you. Black voices matter, but yeah, you're gonna die in the first 10 minutes. They never tell you that. So with that being said,
hey, we're gonna give you your own cartoon film now, but you're gonna be an animal for the most of it. Princess and the Frog, Spies Like Us.
Right. Chris Rock being a zebra.
No, not Spies Like Us. Spies in Disguise.
Spies in Disguise.
Which, sorry, we had Brad Copeland on earlier, and he wrote Spies in Disguise, but it falls
he also wrote Wild Hogs too.
But those two movies, like, that was like on the cusp of like, all right, we're gonna give more black people leads in animated features. We're gonna give you a black princess, but she's a frog for most of the movie. We're gonna give you a black superhero spy, but he's a what the hell is he? He's some kind of animal.
But no, Godfrey says it best, and I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the black Godfrey. Mm-hmm. And the crazy part about it is that I recently saw an interview where he says is like he's been interviewed by Vlad TV. Vlad, if you ever want to come on, I'd love to interview you because for the most part, I like your interviews, but you're toe tapping a little bit. We'll talk later. With that being said, he interviewed Godfrey, and Godfrey they were like, hey, did you hear? And I apologize for messing up your name because I would definitely respect you as an actor. The guy that played in Widows, the guy from ATL, Paperboy, and also the guy from another film that I really love. He is going to be, he's in this Marvel film called Eternals, and he's going to be the first openly gay character in Marvel. And so Godfrey's point was, Vlad was like, are you happy that finally black people are just getting that just do? He was like, fuck no. And let me tell you why. And I respected this so much to hear this motherfucker say this. He was like, don't feed me this bullshit. Don't feed me your agenda. Black people have been trying to get prominent roles in films for not decades, over 100 years. To where the only time we win an Oscar, the first black woman to win an Oscar played a maid. Basically a 100-year-old version of The Help. When Denzel won an Oscar, he was saying "my nigga." A white person wrote the story, and I really, you guys got to understand this. I hate color just as much as you guys. I really wish the best actors and the best writers really did the best roles, because guess what? We've not seen the best stories. We've been over. The best artists in the world, we're being over by society because we can't do our best, because we got to worry about all this bullshit and this typecast. But with that being said, I'm looking at this film and I'm looking at, damn man, this beautiful black woman who, to be honest with you, you haven't seen Pam Grier since Jackie Brown?
No, and she's not even beautiful in the traditional sense, which makes her even more special. Like she's not, I want to say rough around the edges, but they don't try to doll her up to make
Where's the
her,
makeup?
Yeah, no. And then like she has it's this perfect balance between your typical vulnerable female lead, but also a lot of power. Like the best scene that sums it up is when she's sitting there at the desk waiting for Ordell to get there, and she's like practicing with the gun, like how's she gonna do this and feel and be natural about it. Like I thought,
Right, he has a gun.
but even with that moment, you still don't she doesn't lose any value to you as like the
Damsel in
lead
distress.
protagonist. Yeah, it doesn't
She's
feel
never
like
plays that, and that's what's beautiful about it. So at the end of the day, for as much people have criticized Quentin Tarantino, rightfully so, for saying the N word, because I got to tell you here, from man to man and artist to artist, and I'm just as good, if not better, than you. My resume actually does speak for it. But with that being said, like I've learned from you. I've learned the fact that you can be great, but at the same time, I understand why people too antagonize it, because I write movies, I've done movies, and I don't have to get away with saying the word cracker a bunch of time. It doesn't do it for me.
Especially when you illustrate with all of your movies that you are obviously really good with words.
Correct.
So if you
What
can't
Small
come
Bro
up
said,
with a
being a
creative,
wordsmith.
so if you can't creatively come up with an alternative to, I don't know. I mean,
To me, I just, as a director, I put it this way, okay, and don't get me wrong, I feel like it's a 50-50 thing. Part of me feels like, okay, I'm not going to feel good casting somebody and paying somebody to do it, so if somebody's going to do it, let me do it.
mm-hmm.
But I still don't think that's the underlying, just the way I think you have. I don't think you're racist, just like I don't think you're a sexual asshole, but I know you have a foot fetish, and apparently you get off by saying the N word too.
Yeah. I wouldn't. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say he's racist. It's just
He gets off by
he's
doing stuff he shouldn't be doing.
He's contributing to a problematic
Situation. But
Yeah.
again, it's not about him. Back to Pam Grier. Seriously, like, to be honest with you, like I told you, this was Pam Grier is my. You have to understand, if I had a top 10 of artists on I can't call it a Mount Rushmore, because that's 4, and if they don't like you, they blow your nose off to spite your face. That's where that line comes from. But if I had a top 10 of artists, Pam Grier and Angela Bassett would definitely be in there, because you got to understand, she's been such a queen to us. I'm talking about Angela Bassett. You've been Tina Turner,
Mm-hmm.
and you were the mom of T'Challa. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. 2020, you've been up. You took Debo, T'Challa, Kobe. I mean, what the are you doing?
About to send Lil Wayne to prison for 10 years.
After he posed with 45. Okay, another story.
But yeah, so Pam Grier, yeah, that I totally wholeheartedly agree
So
with
PG, welcome to the boys, sweetheart. I got a strong feeling you're gonna make our top 3 and 5. Hey, listen, Pam Grier, you did, and guess what? Not only did you win, you went up against Sam Mother Jackson. Now, had you not pressed that gun against his dick, that was the moment when she won.
Yeah.
What is that? I think it's a gun pressed against my dick.
It was his hair versus her lip curl, and her lip curl won.
Her lip curl won. He's like, man, I just came here to talk. Are you want to talk? Like, it's almost. I promise you, it's almost a joke word. Whenever somebody's about to lose it, apparently they go to that voice.
Like a Joker.
Yes, sir. Bring us in.
Who was your favorite person in the movie? Let us know in the comments. What's your favorite?
Where the Jane Fonda fans at? Because I mean, somebody had to think that was their favorite character. Because I mean, she could have easily made it. Easily.
Yeah, Bridget.
I'm sorry. Why I say? Oh, you said Jane Fonda earlier.
You're getting them mixed up like Robert De Niro.
I don't think he got them mixed up.
Yeah.
I think he got mixed up with them.
Find us in all these links. It's coming up right now.
Why don't you subscribe? It'll last longer.